What's up everyone out there in YouTube land? It's me, Perry Lovewhistle, and I'm back on Acadian in Project Quarm. And before I get started today, there is something I have to correct from my previous video. Here I am in the southern desert of Ro, which I said in my last video wizards get a port to, but druids don't. And I was wrong about that. Actually, just south of the wizard port in, right over this hill, somewhere around here, there it is a druid ring. So not only is there a druid port in South Ro, but it's significantly closer to Lower Guck than the wizard ring. So to all of the druids that I offended, I am sorry. There is a druid port in South Ro. And if you're headed to Lower Guck, you should be asking for the South Ro port, whether you're looking for a port from a druid or a wizard. Now, on to today's video, because as you can see, I am level 40. It's going a little bit slower than expected, but I am finally on the last home stretch in my trudge towards level 46 so that I can raid. And I want to talk a little bit about how I got here. So today's video is going to be about the solo semi-AFK camps. Some people refer to them as dad camps that got me through my late 20s and 30s. The first one, and easily the biggest that I'm going to talk about today, in terms of just pure hours that I have spent at the camp, is in Firot. If you come out of the Temple of Khazak Thul, turn left and go right across the river. Right up by this tree is 3 NPCs. 2 wearing these black robes and Spanner Scrap Snatcher. These are a big deal if you are level 27 to 35. At least that's the level I was when I was camping them. Akar Alurum and Elion Morkel both are on a 2-minute spawn timer. Spanner is on a 6-minute spawn timer, but none of them social with each other. They also have no faction hits, so if you can take one of these every 2 minutes, then this is incredibly fast XP. Now they are usually taken, because it's not nearly the secret that it was when I found out about it. They are way out of era. You'll notice that you won't find them here on Project 1999. That's because I think they're part of the Legacy of Yakisha expansion. I'm actually not completely sure. So if you do know what era these NPCs are from or why they're in the Firot, leave a comment below because I'm still pretty confused. All I know is that I camped them for several hours to get from level 27 up to level 35, where they turn light blue to me. Now the great thing about being in the Firot is if they were all taken, they're usually an individual camp, 1 NPC per camp, because they don't social with each other. But be careful, because Akar Alurum does not run at low health. So if you are a melee character, probably stick to either Spanner or Elion. Or if they are taken, you're pretty close already to the Wraith Mountains. Just inside Wraith Mountains, through the first south pass, is several giant skeleton spawns. This is actually one of the first times that Acadian followed a similar leveling path to Zaner, because these 2 giant skeletons right here are actually far enough away from each other that they can be single pulled, as long as you pull this one first. The one on the right will get aggroed by the one on the left if you pull him first. There's also a couple of other skeletons that spawn out here, and over here to the west of those points. Don't be alarmed when Kazel Delert walks by you. He's mean, but isn't aggressive. There's this ruined stone ring with a bunch of spawn points on it. The thing about this one is every one of these spawn points could be a giant skeleton, a zombie, an icebone skeleton, or a skeletal monk. So it tends to kind of be ignored, except by maybe magicians who could easily clear out all of the greens rapidly and encourage more giant skeletons to spawn. And this giant skeleton's actually still blue to me at level 40. I was not expecting that. I actually thought that these guys greened out around level 38. But if this guy's still blue, I'm not going to ignore experience when it falls into my lap. The other great thing about Wraith Mountains is if you can't find a spawn in this area on the east end to camp, Lesser Evacuate takes you all the way to the Lake Wraith zone line, where there is Cyclops, which also tend to be camped, also giant skeletons, and there is a named Cyclops that runs around here. Also over here is the Gypsy camp, and inside of this tent is Cynthia, who is another common semi-AFK camp location. She has no faction hits, and none of the other Gypsies help her. She is a caster though, so really good for melee if you can get her before she starts buffing herself. So if you're sitting here, you can grab Cynthia as soon as she spawns. You can generally get some pretty decent XP off of that. If all of the good spots in Firat and Wraith Mountains are taken, and you still don't have time to get a group in a dungeon, you can always head to South Kurana, which is really easy to do if you're a druid or a wizard. If you head due south from the zone in from North Kurana, that'll take you directly to Split Paw. Split Paw is a great solo spot because there are 5 static spawns that are on 6-minute timers that spawn gnolls, drop all your standard Split Paw gnoll stuff. This one looks like he's got that nice stun whip. Not only do they drop some of these semi-useful newbie items, the Nullhide Lariat is more useful, I think, for enchanters, for pets. Maybe more useful for necromancers or magicians for pets. But they also drop the scrolls, which can be turned in for really good XP up to level 35. But there is one gnoll that spawns at each of the 3 spires, and then there are a couple of roamers that spawn somewhere on the hill and either walk between the spires like this one does, or there's another roamer that walks over the hill. All can be single-poled. Also, if they aren't claimed, they can be quad-kited pretty easily, as you can see somebody doing right now. Also, while you're here, you can cross your fingers for a group inside of Split Paw, which I've only managed to get one time. Also, be careful, because on Project Quarm, the centaurs all have bows. So they wander around, and they would have been really good XP for me if it wasn't for the fact that they shoot bows and interrupt my casting. There's one other specialty camp that I want to make note of. I've only managed to get it once, but it's here in the Butcher Block Mountains. If you head north from the crossroads and get to the point where the road diverts to the left, and most people will just run right over that mountain in front, if you instead turn to the right, there are 3 goblins here that are level 34 or 35, I think. So it's 3 goblins out here. They are spaced out so they can all be single-poled. And they're on, I think, an 18 or a 20-minute timer. 20-minute timer. So this is a really specialized camp. Probably better for melee. Oh, there's the third one back there. So it's actually currently open. They're all light blue to me, though. So they can all be single pulled. There's about a 20-minute respawn. So you could go from one to the next with a little bit of med time in between. There is good drops here, but unfortunately I was unable to sell in zone because the dwarves don't like me. And I was lucky a guildie was headed towards Kano's Hills, because that put me right next to the other honorable mention. This is one that I was recommended by multiple people to check out as soon as I hit level 35 and the NPCs in Firot were no longer giving me XP. But this one is too small a camp and too well known of a camp for me to ever be able to get it. Every time I checked it out, it was always camped, and I think the person who told me about it even said that they would take 12-hour shifts with somebody on the other side of the world and turn it over directly to them. Regardless, I'm still going to discuss it because it is an amazing camp, and who knows, maybe you're on Project 1999 where this camp is still available because people in the appropriate levels for it are busy in Valios or Kunark. But here in West Karanas, if you take the first southward road heading towards the barbarian fishing village, you get to this guard tower right here, which is full of corrupt guards. As you can see, it is already taken by Mr. Stingy. 2 guards spawn in here that are on corrupt guard faction. One of them, after he spawns, will wander out and head down towards the barbarian fishing village. Supposedly he has some dialogue down there about how he is hustling them for money because he's a corrupt guard. Regardless, that makes it splittable solo, and you can alternate between the 2 guards solo and get XP from it. Not only do they give XP as you grind the guards themselves, but they drop corrupted guard bracelets, which you can turn in North Karana for even more XP, I think up into the 40s. But, like I previously said, it is always taken, so I never got my chance to fight these corrupted guards. But once I got to level 39, it was back to the Firot, where I currently do the majority of my solo leveling, and will probably all the way until level 50, and that is the Spectres. Now, Spectres spawn in 3 different places, and I actually think it's going to be worthwhile going to one of the other places to talk about why the Firot Spectres are so great. So Spectres spawn in 3 places in Classic Everquest. The Oasis of Mar, the Ocean of Tears, and the Firot. In the Oasis of Mar and the Ocean of Tears, they spawn 4 together at the top of a tower, which has Miragul's logo on the side of it. Let's see if I can get to this island without dying. It looks like there is a necromancer here fighting them. This one is only good if you can split them or if you can fight all 4 of them. It's the same thing with the Ocean of Tears. I think Darkblood is probably going to get nervous that I'm going to screw up his camp, so I'm going to head out. But if you can't deal with 4 of them close together in a tower, either by pacifying or harmonying them, the only place that you can kill Spectres is in the Firot. So I'm going to head there and talk about all 7 of those spawns in a lot more detail. But if you head down the south wall, just past the NPCs that I was talking about earlier, you get to the Spectre Caves. Unlike the other 2 locations where there are Spectres, these ones are all far enough apart that they can be single pulled. There are 6 static spawns and 1 roamer. And each of them has a number that was agreed upon 20 years ago, and they're all solo camps. So you can have one that you claim, and if it's low population time and the other ones near you aren't claimed, you might be able to get a bonus Spectre. But this one right here is probably Spectre 1. So Spectre 1 will spawn somewhere next to this tree. I've seen it spawn up the hill, up here, and I've seen it spawn all the way down here, but it's always next to this tree. Oh, and all of these Spectres in the Fearot are on a 6-minute timer. 6 minutes exactly. And each of them will drop either a scythe, a bronze scythe, or a rusty scythe. The regular scythe sells for 11 or 12 platinum depending on your charisma. Pretty good cash camp as well. Spectre 1 spawns out here. This tree just south of Spectre 1 marks a false wall which takes you into the Spectre Caves. Spectre 2 is right here, just inside. And it looks like no one's fighting Spectre 2, so I might have to clear it out of the way so that I can get through and show some of the other Spectres. Alright, I've got enough mana to fight Spectre 2 if I need to. But I'm gonna try and get by him. Supposedly, if you stick to the left wall, you can get past him. You also have to watch out because the Pather does come all the way up here. So, that's Spectre 2. When you head into these caves, if you follow the wall on the right all the way back, you'll get to the portal to the Plane of Fear. But all of the turnoffs to the left take you to other Spectres, with one exception. This first turnoff takes you to Spectre 3, which is camped currently. I believe this is the Pather, who is about to spawn again. Yep, there he is. So the Pather spawns just down the hallway from 3. Dang it. Oh, okay. He's working on it. So, I thought he was coming after me, but he's just been feared. So, he will path all the way up to the mouth in front of Spectre 2. Past him is Spectre 4, which spawns inside of this tiny little hallway. Spectre 4 is not for people like me who need to kite. This is a tiny runway, so this is a melee caster, or if you can fear. Just down the hallway from 4, of course, is 5. Which has an incredibly long runway. I actually can't even see how far back. So 5 spawns all the way up here. I was able to kite 5 out and have it down before I got into the hallway, before I even got my level 39 spells. This tunnel after 5 does not have a Spectre in it. But this one does, and this is Spectre 7. Almost as long of a runway as Spectre 5. And if you keep going down the hallway past Spectre 7, you get to yet another false wall. You have a big room full of skeletons a level 39, I think, wizard named Cindrila, and the portal to the Plane of Fear. But that's it for your solo classic camps from level 30 all the way to level 50. I'm going to be able to farm these Spectres until I level cap, assuming that I level cap before Kunark comes out. So if you see me online and I don't have a group, odds are I'm here. So until next time, bye!